Hi, Manan. So this is going to be a series of interviews that we're going to do with school leaders across the country.
Great.
And thank you for joining us on camera
It's my
today.
pleasure.
First question, right off the bat: are you a businessman or are you an educator?
So I don't see, it's like asking Ramdev Baba is a Baba or a entrepreneur. So I don't see a difference between a businessman and an educationist, because a businessman is a person who makes maximum decisions in the interest of getting customers. So as an educationist, we have to do the same. We have to ensure that our parents, our students are getting what they came for.
But a lot of people say that education has become a business and there's a lot of profiteering. So there is this whole move to kind of black label those schools that are treating it like a corporate or like a entity that is oriented towards profit.
So it's a very gray area whether you get more customer satisfaction in an entity which is not working for profit or in an entity which is working for profit. So for instance, we had BSNL. It was not working for profit. It was working at reach. It was working at how they can get maximum people on phone lines. The biggest progress in this metrics came when it was privatized. So the idea is that whether it is charity or profitable, we are a charitable organization, we do 100% not for profit. The problem is not that. The problem is that are we delivering what customers or say parents are choosing us for. So yes, there is profiteering only where there is lack of supply and there is too much demand. But as you see in Ahmedabad, there are 54 CBSE schools. If you see, there are a lot of schools which have vacant seats. So how can there be profiteering if there is an ample supply?
Right. So you are almost like a black sheep of the owner community. People don't like you. Why do you think they don't like you? There's a perception that Manan akela chalta hai. He's like walking alone. He walks in a direction where everybody doesn't walk. Is that perception correct?
So actually there is the whole concept is that why you start a school. Some people start to run their own that's like own organization with the intention of earning a reasonable set of remuneration. We started a school for charity. We are a not-for-profit organization in its true sense. Now when you run any market, if you study baseline economics, it is very clear that in a perfect competition, all players need to have the same objective. If there is one player who have a not-for-profit objective or a player who has ulterior motives, like for example, if you say mineral water bottle being branded as a alcoholic beverage and then advertising for what we call surrogate advertising. So when you say there is no logic in doing advertisement for Seagrams, while what we see in education is people have ulterior motives to run the school. We have a very simple motive to give best quality education what we can afford, and hence we are apart from everybody else while this is concerned. We are not here for any ulterior motive. I studied in the same school, my daughter studies in the same school, my friends and relatives, people study in the same school. Our intention is to give best quality education. Well, if you consider there are other things, they are here for fame, they are here for getting money out of it, or they are here for spreading a missionary message. So like if there is religious schools like Swaminarayan or Christian missionary, or there are schools of say maybe Zydus. So they have started with a motive of maybe giving admission to their own staff children. We don't have any such thing and we do it, so we are different. But if you see, by and large, educationists are cut out of the same cloth. We all have the same constraints. Given a situation, we react in the same way.
But you are growing and other people are not. What's their secret?
So that's where optimization comes. So many people have two choices. So when they build a new school, they have to take it far or make it near the school. If you use the same capital, when you take the school building far, you can make a bigger building and you can have a transport system. Here when you do it in the city, the cost of land is more, building is smaller. we took a choice 30 years ago that we want to make the school convenient. It should be reachable by everybody. It cost us an arm and a leg. It was very costly. Even now, one of the costliest real estates is occupied by our school. What we see is that it gives convenience to parents. So we are growing. But if you look at from the perspective of ROI, we are the worst performers. We have the costliest capital employed and the least turnover, if you say total fee collection. So it is not that we are the best performer, but it is that yes, we have taken some decisions in the past for which right now we are growing.
The way I'm looking at it is your perspective to education is you want to deliver a certain quality to a certain set of people. And for that you are using a lot of what are called management principles.
Yes.
And one of those that I have identified is that you take a lot of feedback from your ecosystem, from your parents, from your teachers, so where did this, is this a new idea? Do you think other schools do it, or you are like a pioneer in getting feedback and analyzing data and doing that kind of stuff?
So that's the beauty of it. When Apple launched fingerprint sensor in their mobile, it was available in on mobiles, lot of mobiles. When Apple did most of the innovation, it always said first time in an iPhone, but in the market it was always available. So what we do is we do it things differently, but people think that it is our innovation. So we do it so we are a scalable organization. We had 1250 students when I had joined. Right now we have 5000 plus. We always had a vision that we want to grow, we want to deliver best education to maximum people. Now what happened is feedback. For example, we have a mobile app in which we take parent feedback. So it's a ear to the ground. We know when the problems are coming. Now this is something which was employed years and years ago by our founder, Mrs. Sarojbin Carvalho, where she used to talk to parents. When parents used to complain, she used to not tell parents that you are right, but she used to go back and tell teachers, parents are complaining, you improve yourself. Every single school owner does this. If parents complain, they react. I don't see any school owners having that much wherewithal to say, parents, you are always wrong, our teachers are always right. It's never there. It's always feedback and things improve with the feedback. We do it in a very structured manner. We do it with use of technology, and we do it with a very sophisticated way, in the way that where we have all previous feedback of parents. So we do like Uber driver rating. When the driver also rates the passengers, we also rate the parents that where is this coming from. So accordingly we give the importance and we do it. I don't see anything we are doing different. It's just that we package it in a different way. And like you said, people perceive that it is Udgam is out of the box. Actually, it is the same old wine in new bottle.
You have kind of emphasized on some things that must have come from somewhere. Like you emphasize that we talk in English. That's on your badge.
Yeah, we try that.
And second is that you say that we are a full day school, 10 a.m. to 5
it's like
almost like a full day school. Were these decisions some things that you took from an education perspective, or were they things that you felt that the so-called market needs it?
So that's the beauty, this is what we call is like holy grail. What we call is like big debate in our management, that how much importance do we give to parents' demands. Now it's such a big topic here. So what is ideal, what is required by parent, these are two independent things, and wherever we can meet them, we try to meet them. So nowhere in the literature education it is mentioned that education cannot happen in a school which starts at 10:30. And our trustees thought that let us do what is best, where sleeping cycle is not disturbed, where students can have good breakfast and come. Breakfast is important. So we decided this time. Now also it was a good thing for working parents. So at this all thing is a market thing. Now is it a market thing, or is it something which is human interest? Now it was of human interest. Second is academic interest. Now academic interest, all schools across I have seen is a morning school 7:30 time. I don't see why. They don't even have a second shift. So So what is the logic behind it? I am at a loss. But what we can see is we do not always give importance to parents' demand. We have a fundamental approach towards decision making. What is right and what is wrong. So we do what is right. We think that we do what is right. I don't know if it is right or wrong, because in this area there is a continuous debate of intellectuals of every single decision a school makes. Is it really right or is it wrong? But we go with what we feel it is right. Our profit maximization is not our objective, and teaching quality is also not our objective unless it suits the other objective of human development. Because after all, why we do education? We want so having a child should not be a punishment. That is what our management believes. If that becomes a punishment, future of mankind is in question.
So you are a CA,
Yes.
and you come from a perspective of understanding the whole concept of money, understanding capital, return on investment. These things, most schools feel that these are bad words to talk about when you're talking
Taboo,
about Vidya.
yes.
Saraswati or Lakshmi ko saath mein nahi bithana. Have you faced a kind of an exclusion because of this pedigree that you come from? Because when we started EI and we came into education, we were management graduates. So when we came in also, we were said ki, what do you guys know about education?
And you say one MBA jargon, and the attention is out.
Right.
So I'm a CA, and I am very proud of the fact that I am not practicing CA. Like, I am practicing, but not as a law and tax and accounting person full time. The problem is that people have typecasting. So when they say, and of course when you say doctors, when you have an image of doctor, they would have a stethoscope and a apron and
Right,
whatnot. I have seen a lot of doctors who go by data analysis. I have seen a lot of artists who go by data analysis. I have seen a lot of musicians doing analysis of their music based on metrics. Now, it's a surprising thing. There is no crime. You will be an outcast. I am in a group of school owners. Earlier I was a CA. People used to think that I don't know education. But sad part is they don't know it either. The sad part is that there is so much lack of educational management development in India, even in the world, because in most developed countries education is done by government. While if you see any management case study, it is usually of a foreign company. But if you see any school case study, it is not a foreign country, because it is government done. Okay, so what happens in this scenario? How do you get out of this? So I realized that I should not use management jargons. I realized I cannot use the word return on investment. I cannot use the word profit. I have to, in a way, I used to change the vocabulary. So when I changed the vocabulary, we were on the same page. So I do not use profit, I use cash, surplus.
Surplus, yeah.
Cash and not cash. People think cash. When I said, "Veer, हमारे पास इतना cash नहीं बचेगा," so they will say, if I use this in CA, I would be thrown out of the building. If I say cash nahi bachega, oh my god, this is such a vague statement. But here, that's how people understand. So see, the idea again, it goes back to our philosophy of what customer wants and what is right and wrong. So you have to focus on the substance and not on the superficial things, not on the letter but in the spirit. So what we did was, I did this interesting thing when I have in a meeting with teachers. I never use the words which I use for MBA things, and I'm not an MBA, but I read a lot of management literature, so I know. Whenever I try to translate it into things which they would understand and relate to. That's how I get acceptance. So that's what you should also do in your company, and else India is a very negative. In India there is like Dhirubhai Ambani in this Guru film. They said that everybody has a club. Nobody wants new people to enter that club. So what we need to, if you want to get entry into that club, first of all, you need to behave like them.
But
And then you get-
you have this image of being a disruptor, and that image has kind of gets magnified when you're so visible in media. You're visible on Twitter, you're visible on Facebook, you're visible on on press conferences, and you are visible everywhere. So what do you say that is disrupting something that is natural to you, or that's something that you've taken on as like a direction that you want to give yourself?
So for 15 years since I'm associated in the school, for like first 5 to 7 years, I was going with the flow. I was not rocking any boat. I was not doing much things. I was just understanding what are the priorities of these stakeholders. So stakeholders in ITC do not have priority of that they're selling cancer thing and earning money out of it. But if you see stakeholders in schools, they have a different priority where of course many are for remuneration. Their sole purpose, like their sole revenue is this, but they don't want to talk about it officially. So what I have seen is that many school owners don't like to talk to media. They are media shy. They don't like to come out in public. They do not voice their opinions. Well, there is a lot of evidence, or I would say a lot of research, that when you don't have when you are afraid what your customers want, you try to avoid full-fledged what we call is media visibility or publicity. I'm not aware of what my customer wants. I have 5,000 students, each with coming on their own background and mindset, expectation. What we do is we realize that after 7 years, I realized that this is not how we can change the world. If we want to change the world, we have to take bulls by the horn. We have to take media head on. We have to have an opinion, and we have to be very vocal about it. We cannot run like frightened sheep, and we cannot just put problems under the carpet. This is what is happening in education by and large. So what if a teacher slaps a child today in a school? Many people, many management would cite the teacher. Well, I say they are humans. They make mistakes. I don't fire teacher immediately, but I look at their background. If they have done in the past, I fire them. But if they have a spotless record, they are humans. I fight with parents that yes, I can remove the teacher. It is easiest thing for me. We have a plethora of applications. We have like files load of applications. But that is not the right thing to do. Have you not slapped a child, your own child? If you have, why teacher thinks the same way? So the whole idea, what I'm trying to do is that we are taking a stand, and we are clear that this is the stand we are taking it. We don't mind going to the media with it. If it's a confusion, people want to stay away from it, and that's where the whole education community is right now.
So you are saying that one, you are not shy of talking what you believe in.
You can't change world,
and you're not saying, okay, I'm here to run a good school. And earlier you were saying that you have a choice in running a profitable school and a good school. So where are you on that continuum, on a good school versus a profitable school?
We are trying to balance. The unfortunate part in running a good school is that you get a lot of inquiries of admission. And what to do with that? So if you look at from an economic model, there are two kinds of losses which a company do. When you have a stock and there is no demand for it. When you have a demand and there is a stock out situation. In both cases there is a loss.
Yes, opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost and inventory cost. Okay. Now here we have we get 3,000 inquiries every year without single rupee of advertising. What do we do with that? So that means we are giving value. So there is a customer surplus going in economic terms. So we are giving value more than what we are charging. It's very simple thing. If government has some sense, they should tax us. People will be ready to pay and government will make money. And that is what classic taxation theory say, that when you charge, if there is a customer surplus, you charge and make money out of it. That's classic economics, nothing new about it. So here we have 5,000 parents is our capacity, 3,000 parents are trying to come. Now whom do we admit? So every year 300 people pass out and we have another 300 people coming in. So whom do we admit? So now people are willing to pay 1 lakh rupees and I am charging 70,000. So where does that 30,000 go? So that is where we try to, now with the fee regulation, we cannot increase it year on year, but we try to balance this demand vis-a-vis something. So now either that 30,000 goes in customers like parents pocket, so that is what we call in classic economic terms is economic loss, because now if 300 people can give 30,000, that's like crore rupees on the table. Can I improve? So doing that year and year and year again, today we made the school AC, 100% AC school, 100% soundproof classrooms, we have the dust free campus, we have best facilities that we can imagine to give, okay, and in principle we are okay with it, okay. So now the question is that is it profiteering or is it building a great school out of customer surplus?
Right. So going forward, if you have a choice, there's another thing that I wanted to ask you is, one of the things people say that you're a takeover tycoon.
Asha, that's a nice thing.
And instead of setting up new schools, you take over schools and you change
Turn
it.
around, yes.
So where does that come from? I mean, is that
My role model is Ratan Tata and Tata Steel, but I also admire Lakshmi Nivas Mittal.
Okay.
So what happens is when you start a greenfield project or starting a school from scratch, the permissions itself takes about permission construction and first admission takes about 3 years from the date of idea. Now if you have a school which has all of this but does not have students, then it is something which I can help with. Another thing, another important aspect we have to understand is again economic resources. If you go back to India, it's a socialist country. We had a limited capacity approval because there was a waste of capital, financial resources, and so I see that all over. I see is that there are so many schools who are under capacity and I feel pity for them. So it comes out of compassion.
A lot of compassion to make good money out of it.
So money, I don't even know how much money I make out of education, if whatever I can make. Money is a byproduct.
Exactly. That's good. It's like what Gandhi said, that it is more a trustee. You're a trustee of the wealth that you create. And what you do with that wealth is the important
That's
thing.
true, and moreover, see, if you have a customer surplus, going technically by, if you are a customer surplus and if you can expand your capacity, you are doing good to the economy, to the whole world actually.
So one of the things is that a lot of schools are not doing what you do. They are not able to maximize capacity. And they will fold up and they will shut down. How does it feel? I mean, these also schools have their space. They are also there in the ecosystem, but they will die. So is it that the best, the most profitable and the most aggressive survive? Is that what is going to happen?
So, okay, so here's the thing, in a perfect market economy that will happen. But in an economy in which resources cannot be allocated, they will drag on. So that's the sad part of education. I know so many schools which are under capacity utilization, and government is saying regulate the fees of schools which are in demand. Now if I was the government, I would ask them to open up 10 more schools. I would create a market of oversupply. Automatic quality fees will be regulated. If my school was at 80% capacity, I would work twice as hard as I would do right now to ensure that it is 100%.
But that only, I think this capacity concept only you are thinking. Other people are okay running schools with 200 children, 300 children.
See, we go back to the concept that I am a CA. They have no idea of the losses. They have no idea. I'll tell you a simple thing is when they say when I joined Udgam, this is not going far, it's under my nose. When I joined Udgam, we had an installed capacity of 1250. We had an actual capacity, I remember, was of 1190 students. Why? Because we said we did not admit in middle of the session, like first, second, third, fourth. We admitted in junior KG and they passed out in 10th and they recorded admission in 12th. So, and people got transferred and there were seats vacant. There was no procedure to fill those seats. I remember that at that time, this was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I said that why we are not filling these capacities, they are vacant and we have so much inquiries. So our trustee said if we fill one, we will have flood of inquiries and we will not be able to handle. So I said let us do that. So when I try to go back to their role as a trustee by definition they have fiduciary duty to use the resources in the trust to the best interest of the trust.
Absolutely.
So I said, you have a building, you have teacher teaching, you have so many, and and India is illiterate. So I looked at, so where does this money come? So 260 seats we added, and what happened? That added directly to our surplus because there was no additional cost. Classes were running, teachers were employed, no additional cost. Then we used that money to establish a very good library. Today that library has one of, I have not bought new books recently because of that FRC thing, which is very important, but we used to keep updating that library. Now you just imagine, this is just seats which are lying vacant, which have been filled. So when you say that there are schools which have seats are vacant, why don't they reduce fees? Government will be happy, parents will be happy, more admissions. It's a perfect world.
But this way of looking at education purely from a lens of economics is somehow a bit
Ruthless.
it's so
It's
cruel.
heartless.
Heartless. So
Yeah, so that's what it is.
but
Well-
education is somehow glorified as this wonderful thing that you have to do for children, and it has to be so. The soul has to come. There has to be love, passion.
So there is a confusion between 7 intelligences and purpose. So I may not be a creative person. Sorry, I am to say, but people say that I am a very creative person, but actually I don't know drawing, I don't know performing arts. I am totally away from appreciating anything related to arts. It's something which I am. I cannot change that. But so I would say that that's the thing humans need to change. That if you want to contribute something to the society, you do not need to have the same things what other contributors have. Okay, so here's the thing, if you want to make meaningful thing in education, you do not need to even become a teacher. Okay, but I will tell you what, if you have a purpose, humans are so adaptive, they would find the skills you require. The purpose should be very clear. So my purpose is very clear, that I want to change the world with education. I cannot do it with 10 students in a class. I need like 10,000 students. And I am sure right now I am like 50% where I imagine myself to be. But why I am so much behind? Because competition is not giving me a tough race. So I blame it on the competition for my failures.
So what next? I mean, where do you see? So you've like come into education 15 years ago. You've watched for 5 years when you came into the school. You understood the landscape. You started taking decisions that are more in line with what the customers want, what parents want, and you have maximized your surplus. You've come to this place where your capacity is full. You've got a lot of things. What is your next big goal? I mean, what do you want to do next? Is it more just increasing capacity, or is there something else?
So, there are two things, quality and quantity. My goal always was that one does not increase without the other. I cannot increase quantity without quality, and I cannot increase quality without quantity. How? I'll explain. If I do not improve what I am already doing, I will have a limited increase in capacity. If I do not increase capacity, I will have limited funds or finance to improve the quality. So one goes without the other.
It's like one feeding into the other.
15 years, yin yang, 15 years I have done that, and I see same. My focus on quality. So for 3 months in a year, my focus is on new admissions. For 9 months in a year, my focus is on improving the quality of education.
And I have sat through conversations when you've like talked to your teachers using the DA data, and you come across as very brutal even when you're talking to your teachers. So are they scared of you? I mean, do you manage by fear, and how is it? I mean, how is Manan as a leader?
So in India we have this power distance indication, in that book of outliers, there is this concept of, in Asian economies, Asian countries, there is a power distance because of the hierarchy. So in US, you would walk into your boss and say, "So what are you doing this weekend?
Hi,
Let's
Jim,
go."
what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, but we cannot imagine the teacher walking into a principal's cabin and saying that let's go out for a movie. Teacher will be like banished for life. So there is a certain kind of our ethics, our culture, especially in education sector, that we have a distance, we have a hierarchy to follow. So that's why there is a fear. But if you ask me, the fear as a person, I don't like to rule by fear. I like to rule by merits, and I like that people challenge me. And in fact, like I said, I am not an educationist. I don't know anything about education, but I have some questions. When I ask the questions, people who give me the right answer, I respect them. People who don't have any answers, they are fearful. So that's the story. I do not rule by fear. Another important thing what we need to understand is that we have to be data driven. We have to be impartial. We have to see the writing on the wall. We have to call a spade a spade. I've used all the idioms I could, but but the fact of the matter is that you cannot just say we are doing a teaching. Okay, you can put this on record. Teaching is the most unaccountable job. If you are not able to clarify maths concept, people blame it on the students.
Yes,
People blame it on the maths concept. People hardly blame it on the teacher.
correct.
And even if they blame it on the teacher, they cannot pinpoint it because we don't have data to measure it. So here, that's where I come into picture. I try to gather data and I try to present in a way where I can pinpoint where the problem is. And when there is data, people in education get afraid.
Yes,
And if I'm like a ruthless person, I'm a very blunt person. So I tell them, sorry, you're not doing a good job. Do it better next time. But in education, if you say you're not going to do a job, that means you're banished as a failure.
Correct.
You are not a failure.
correct. You're given a lot of inputs on how to improve.
So it's a feedback.
Yes.
And feedback should be appreciated, and you should improve yourself. You are human. You do mistakes. But that's what that's what education sector has not been able to accept.
I remember when I came to you, I think 4 years back, and you said, I want to restart taking asset, and then we decided on detailed
Yeah.
assessment. And how has been that journey? I mean, has it matched your data-driven, diagnostic approach, and has it fit into it, or what are the things that you think are still lacking? Where
So
would
is
you
this a formal customer feedback of detailed assessment?
No,
Then I
it's more
need to-
generic. More generic.
So, okay, I'll tell you what has happened. We have seen one pattern in data collection, not only in education but in other general companies also. When we try to collect the data, it itself improves the performance. Forget the analysis and forget the action taken on the analysis. So, in the first year of detailed assessment, what we saw was that teachers became aware of what kind of questions will the DA ask, and accordingly they have improved that education, that teaching structure. Another thing what we have seen is that parents appreciated the fact that we are asking conceptual questions and not rote-based learning. Obviously, students' mindset has changed. When you see a movie and if I ask you each and every what kind of colors of clothes they were wearing, you will
start
see
being
that,
more observant.
noticing that thing. And if I ask you about say maybe the number plate on the car, you will observe that. So when we started asking this, automatically the human brain is such an adaptive thing that they started
Focusing on that.
absorbing that kind of things in the class. So as far as DA is concerned, I think I started it with data analysis thing, but what I have seen getting feedback from multiple sources that it has achieved a lot of its objective even before we taking any action based on the data. Okay, having said that, we are doing some action. We are doing a lot of data analysis, and we have found out certain pain points, and it was surprising that the pain points were not in the teacher but it was in the class. So the teacher teaches 4 classes, in one of the classes there is a problem.
Okay.
So we earlier thought teachers are bad, but actually it was not that. Teachers are not bad, classes are not bad, but somehow that topic, that subject is bad, and we need to take remedial steps.
Correct. The big question that is facing schools is governmental interference into the running of the school, and lot of people say things against the government involvement. I'll try to play the devil's advocate. I will try to say, if the government did not, put some kind of a justification, some of the schools who are doing a terrible job getting away with it. So in some way there is some accountability metric that has come in. And if you don't have that accountability metric, then the worst school is also charging a X amount and the best school is also charging the same amount. So what is your response to this? I'm saying FRC has got some merit, and it is throwing up some questions into the ecosystem, and the good people will benefit eventually out of it.
Good people will always benefit, no matter FRC or not. That's not the point. The point is, India does not learn from history. India learns history. Okay. Historically, 1991 reforms, we have opened up sector after sector after sector by putting in private competition with a regulator, be it mutual funds. Earlier we had UTI, Unit Trust of India. Now we have AMFI-led a host of options. Many companies left India because they were not performing in their metrics, but many companies are there. We have IRDA, which is insurance regulatory. We have banking, we have TRAI. What do we see in TRAI? TRAI has two regulations, quality and quantity. Quality, whether your calls drop or not, whether you have interference, and you charge up to this level per minute per call. Historically, India has always charges below the upper limit of TRAI, and one of the cheapest and the best telecom provider in the world is in India today. So what do we learn from this? We don't need to go outside. We are here, we have done it in other sector, we need to do it in education. We need a regulatory authority, but not only in fees, but we need in quality also. So when you are saying a good school charges the same and a bad school charges the same, and the bad school gets away with it. But what is a bad school? I wish there is a definition of a bad school. Is it the toppers, it is 100%, or is it the average result? Is it the result only in board exams? It is the result all throughout. Is it the teacher retention? Is it the student retention? What is a bad school? Is it the empty vacancy or the inquiries coming? What is a bad school and a good school?
So here I can tell you some examples that, like Dubai or UAE has this whole concept of school inspection, and they use multiple metrics to rate schools. Like there are outstanding schools, there are satisfactory schools, there are unsatisfactory schools. Do you think India is ready for such kind of a blatant labeling of schools? Would it be ready?
Unfortunately, it is high time we should have that. India was ready long time back. The whole idea in Dubai, I have studied the education sector there. There people are complaining about high fees. There people are complaining about in Dubai the problem is that there are a lot of expats, people on transferable jobs. So they need they need international board. It's a big problem there. They don't have board of their own. Okay, so how can my driver and my driver's child and my daughter's child have the same syllabus? I don't understand why India we cannot have different syllabus for different expectation. Like I want my daughter to be a doctor, suppose I don't want her to be, and my driver has this expectation that he wants his daughter to be an educated graduate. Now why is 5th standard or 6th standard textbook for science same when they have a different goal altogether? So I think India has a lot of things to do. I don't want to be in policy making, but I want to advise them, that's the easiest thing to do, that also look at the quality, put out a metric for quality, also look at the price, but have a healthy in which competition is there. If you want to flourish the sector of education, you need all schools to run at 90% capacity. If it is 100%, nobody is going to improve. When it is 90%, for that 10%, people will go to lengths which today's government cannot even imagine.
We always, when we started EI, we were the people who came into the sector and said that we need to measure learning. At that time people said learning cannot be measured. So in the past 15 years we have crossed that kind of a hurdle. People are now comfortable with a 50 question test to give you a feedback on where your school stands and benchmarking. If you had to look at what EI should do in the next 10 years, because we came in, the sector was completely rote oriented. We said it has to move to application. There was no database decision making. We moved it to database decision making. So from a school's perspective, for a company like EI, what would you say that where should we put our money?
Okay, so here's the thing. Well, when you say that now people are saying, you are talking about the limited customer segment that you are addressing to.
Yes.
Parents are not saying that. All school owners are not saying that.
Right.
Okay, so now if I were in your place, I would try to look at things which are acceptable in the customer's customer. So what we call is telescopic marketing. Another thing what I want to tell you is that where education is not measurable, you have tried to give some data, but unfortunately the consumers of the data, which is the school management and the teachers and all that, are not able to digest that.
Okay.
So when you are not able to digest it, what you do is you give pre-digested food. So what you do is you try to give some analytics in which where this data it pushes you towards, and you guide them that what can be done. So it's like coaching, mentoring. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is as an industry, we do not have association which shares data. So like if you go to a CM, automobile manufacturers, they tell which model has sold how much units per
Interesting.
month. Now it is very clear whether there are two cars in India which sell single digit numbers per month. One is a Rolls Royce and another is Nano. Now that data doesn't tell you anything. So there is like 5 cars in a month Nano has sold and 1 car in a month and the Rolls Royce has sold. So what does it tell you? So you need to push them, because in schools I have done this. I have asked them that how many failures do you have. So when we analyze this data, we realize that we were not focusing on students based on the frequency of failures. We were focusing on the magnitude of failures. So when you talk only these two things, I bet nobody does understand this in education. Well, it is simple for you, but in education it is not so simple.
So I also know that you use the DA data to kind of identify children at risk.
Yes.
And you give supplementary support to them.
Yes.
Is that working?
So not only DA data, what we have found out is we use our own data and we match it with DA data.
Right.
What happens in DA is there are 8 exams and many children perform bad in a few, but by and large who perform consistently bad in DA usually consistently perform bad in school exams also. So there is a match. So when we see a match, then what we do is, so this is a part of our quality initiative. I am very paranoid about that there should not be any child left behind. Every child should at least pass. Now if they don't pass, according to Right to Education Act, their intention was that school should do that much work that no child fails. But what interpretation the school owners have done, we cannot fail anybody. So that is such a bad interpretation. Unfortunate part is that is going to go away, as school owners are going to fail people who are not studying rather than pulling up their socks and helping the child to pass. So what I want to do in my ideal world, in my ideal school, is that a child comes, he may not be a ranker, but he should pass. If he does not able to perform in a certain subjects, we should help them. We should ensure that he at least passes that. Another important thing is that if he is still not able to pass, we give him I take him to a special school with remedial education, special educator, something like that. But the problem is, we should not, a child loses his confidence when he repeatedly sees failed mark sheet. Once you lose you can teach maths, but you cannot give confidence. That's where we are working at.
I'll go back to a point where you said that there are different segments in the market today. Some segments, like you said, your own daughter's aspirations are different than your driver's daughter's aspirations.
Yes.
So do you see a space for a school that could charge, say, 10 lakh fees a year? And would you be interested in working in that segment?
So that's the what we call in management parlance. It is called break-even market share. So
Okay.
what happened? GM exited India. When GM exited India, they had various segments of cars, but still they were not achieving a break-even. So and they decided that it's the worst performing market in all that markets they operate. They removed. So what happens in when you go? So you there is a break-even operating capacity. Now, if you have a 10 lakh school and if you have one student, it's not going to work. But if you have a 5 lakh school and if you have 100 students, maybe it will work. But if you have a 50,000 school and you have 10,000 students, imagine the break-even capacity. So imagine the contribution you have to address to out of 10,000 students. If you have 100 students who are weak, so my view of special education and my view of quality of education is that there will be special students. You will need, it will be part and parcel of a school to address to
You
those.
don't need to have a separate school.
You may need to have a separate class,
Okay.
but may not be a separate school. You may need to have a separate premises, but it can be in the same umbrella. The idea is that it's like it's like probability science. So for every 1,000 students, if there are one student who requires a special school, if we contribute 0.1% of fees towards making facilities for that, we can maybe handle, because if you really look at it, they are our responsibility. If I had 5 children and if one of them was a special child, I would do whatever it takes to, because they are my child. And if I have one child, but since there are out of the whole community of 5,000 parents, I have that special child. It is everybody's responsibility to take care of their child, because by probability they are helping all others to excel. So this is a very different holistic kind of a view, but I think it is a school's responsibility. It should be in the that is a part of the package that you give. For the fees that you charge, part should be given to special education.
Another thing that I wanted to ask is on change.org you've made a petition that the metro station should be named Udgam and not Thaltej. Is this just a gimmick, a publicity stunt, or there's something more to it?
The whole purpose, the contention is that we are a landmark, so which in itself says that we do not require publicity. So it is not a publicity stunt. The whole debate here lies is we need question as to process of naming the station. So there is a Thaltej Gram station and there is a Thaltej station. So our question is that based on what did the government think that Thaltej is the best name for this station, while we are here and people say this is Udgam. Even the auto wala, if you take from if you go from railway station, tell them you want to go to Udgam, they will bring you here.
Correct.
So we are a landmark, well known,
Landmark,
and the idea of doing this is giving the school a legacy, and so each child would be proud of when even those who have passed out, and they would say that in Ahmedabad, Udgam school is so famous, there is a metro station towards it. While doing that, people I did get complaints that you cannot do that, it's a private organization, it's not a government run thing. And I found out in BRTS they have a name for Star Bazaar, they have a name for modern textiles, Kashiram textiles. They also have name for other education institutes like Swaminarayan College, LDO Engineering. So as a government, we don't have a naming convention. So we should have that, and this is a debate as to in the society in general that why can't we do this? So when I like to put in questions, when I put in such questions in groups, truth comes out. So then eventually we don't care whether Udgam station is named Udgam.
You're just pushing the envelope. You're saying
Yeah.
that let's get it out into the open.
Yeah, so there has to be some logical reasoning of not doing it.
Correct. There are a lot of things that I see that you're defined by. But what is signature Manan Choksi? What is your signature that you want to leave as a legacy in the schools that you will run in the next 10-15 years? What would you consider your signature strength or your signature of being involved with Udgam in its past 10 years and the next how many ever years, 10-15 years? What would you want to be remembered by?
Remembered as. So I would always think that I'm bringing something on the table which is a great concept, and but unfortunately I don't do anything out of the ordinary. I am putting concepts, the various faculties of education which are taught in textbooks since years, I have implementing time and motion study in Udgam, which is based on a book written 100 years ago by Professor Taylor. So the whole idea is that I'm not doing anything new. So it's a big thing to say that I want to put behind the signature or anything. I would say that one thing I would like to do, be remembered as doing, is questioning the established practices. And everywhere I go, I do that, and in that we come to wonderful results.
Right. Technology in education is another big, I would say, misconception as to what is technology in education. And EI as a company has been talking about technology not in terms of just computers, but in terms of using data to take decisions, artificial intelligence, machine learning. For us, that is technology. So what, as a school owner, where do you see technology being used properly, and where you see schools getting misled by the technology, piece?
The whole purpose, so Mr. Bill Gates wrote this book, Business at the Speed of Thought, in which he has said that if you put technology in an efficient organization, it will become more efficient. If you put it in an inefficient organization, it will become more inefficient. People think that adding technology to an inefficient process will efficienate the process. That is nothing far is from the reality. So what has happened is that people don't know why, and they try to implement technology. Now why comes is, so you said that you do technology for data analysis. Why?
So we get the insight quicker.
Did the school wants that?
We believe that is what
you want. That schools don't want that. The problem in what we see is that we see smart boards. So smart board vendors, we have smart boards in each class. I'm not against smart boards. The problem is why. Is it concept clarity? Is it so that teachers can face the class when students are copying the notes? Why? So when they don't have a purpose beyond any management initiative or any market initiative, it becomes a problem. It just becomes isomorphism. It becomes like we are copying each other for the sake of it.
Correct.
So when we did years ago, we implemented a simple thing like online forms for admission. Why? People thought that it is a niche school, so we have online form. That's not the truth. The truth is we wanted to give parents convenience. Sitting at their home, they can apply online. They don't need to come to school till they are shortlisted. Once they are shortlisted, they come with the form and they pay the fees, period. So that is convenience we are looking for. We are looking for data. So earlier they had manual forms. We had to feed in the data that had mistakes. So now we don't have data entry operator. Automatically it goes into the main database. There is no data entry, there are no mistakes unless the parent does so. So the whole idea is, in technology, in education, the problem is the school owners are missing a big why. Why they are doing it. Many things are done for the sake of marketing. That smart board in classroom is a marketing gimmick. It's the disaster. Trust me, if you put technology in an inefficient school, it will spoil the school.
A lot of your own journey as a child in schools, you had told me right in the beginning, it was not very pleasant. You were different and you had issues. And has that made you more sensitive towards being in a school?
Yes, I think probably that is the reason that I was not happy with my education, which was in the school. That I wanted to change it. That may be the reason. Another thing is also what we have seen is there is a lot of so earlier when I was studying, there was a lot of research is done, but internet was not present, so it was not accessible to teachers here. Right now there is internet, there is a lot of researches, but it is information overload. So what I see is that I try to relate to what is established in the world to the problems what we are facing day to day, and I try to bridge the gap in a day to day fashion. And of course I see myself, my memories of being a student. I have a lot of things where I see that people were following the teacher not out of respect but out of fear. It is a very bad thing. I hope that one day our teachers are so much educated and so much interesting that student
Choose to follow them.
choose to follow. Even if there is no attendance, there will be full attendance in the class. This is my dream, and I am sure one day we will achieve it.
So thank you, Manan. I think this has been a interesting conversation. I have known you for almost 10 years now. I have seen your, metamorphosis from a person who came into education as an outsider, and now you're running one of the most successful schools, and hopefully a school chain, not just in Gujarat, but I hope you take it to the rest of the country and the world. And EI has been happy and proud to be associated with you, and you're one of the rare people who understand what we say and even critique it. So thank you very much for that. And
When I am a rare person to understand what you say, I take it as a compliment, and I think it is a learning for you that you have to make yourself more understandable.
that is true. We have to make ourselves simpler, and we have to be more in touch with who our customers are, and maybe give them pre-digested food, as you
Yes,
said.
pre-digested.
So thank you very much, and wish you all the best for the next innings of your journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kruti, you can do the honors.
अच्छा वो रिकॉर्ड पे वीडियो पे देना है
Come.
So this is something that we have got.